Good evening, all the participants. My name is Tariq Siddiqui, and I represent the marketing and product function in Collins Learning. Today, I welcome you to this webinar on the topic English through Art for the Middle Stage, Why and How, from a series of webinars being conducted in Art Integration Learning Space by Collins. In case if you have missed any of our previous webinars, you can find them on our official learning page on YouTube. Here's a brief introduction of our resource person for today's webinar, Ms Ruchi Sengar. Ruchi ma'am comes with 26 years of vast experience in education space. She has been a CBSE subject expert and master trainer, NCERT and CBSE materials developer. She's also skilled at item writing and developed training modules for English, question banks, and sample question papers for 10 and 10+2 2020. Created items for critical and creative thinking for Diksha app and podcasts for Shiksha Vahini. She's also the author and teacher trainer for ELT books for various publishing houses. She's the communication module developer and trainer for Trinity College London. She's CELTA certified storyteller from Kathalaya, Bangalore, involved in the diploma thesis for storytelling, has been an examiner for IELTS, awarded by World Kids Foundation for Holistic Teaching. So without further ado, let's welcome Ruchi ma'am and hear it from her. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very humbling. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be here amidst all of you. Before we begin, I just hope that everybody is well and safe. Hope your near dear ones are taken care of. For those afflicted, I hope they are on the road to recovery. Thank you so much for taking time out in such turbulent times to be with us. This just gives, personally, I think it gives us an excuse to get together for something interesting, something creative. So it adds to the wellness factor. Thank you, HarperCollins, for having me. It's a privilege. I quite enjoy being here. So the topic for today is English through Art for the middle stage, right? A week ago, we'd done something for the preparatory stage. There is some common ground that we'd be hitting. However, the examples and other details based on your queries would vary. So let's proceed. Let's begin with telling you what the outline of the session is going to be. So the outline is going to be about why. Why does the NEP mandate integration of art? Who and what are the people? So who are the people involved and what are their roles? Is it just the teachers? Is it what kind of teachers? Who, which subjects? Is it the students? Is the school management? Who are the people involved? What is the difference between AE and parts of AIL? Please don't worry if there is a mild confusion regarding this. I'll be dealing with that. Yeah. Not just this, we are going to use our time to also talk about how do we implement art integration as prescribed in the classroom, okay, for our subject, that's English. Okay, so how can we apply this in our classrooms? How can we assess this work? And how can we understand the Kala Setu better? I'm sure everybody's hands-on with it by now, but it often helps to validate and help you feel that you're on the right track, right? That said, let's have some fun before we proceed. So I'd like everybody to go to www.menti.com and I'd like you to use this particular code that is given there. Let's give you about 30-40 seconds to that. Go to your browser, type www.menti.com, and when you enter, just type this code. Very good. And the moment you do it, you would be looking at this question. Okay? So like it says, this is the, so please feed in your answers and we all can see it on the screen then. So you have time, please go ahead. We have several participants already in. I look forward to hearing your responses, reading your responses. Why do we need art for the learning process of English in the classroom? So in brief, it basically means why do we need art? So www.menti.com, and this is the code. 9905 4020. Very good. Oh, lovely, lovely. I just love the word creativity. And look how beautifully this person has typed here. Creativity, interdisciplinary. Yes, breaks monotony. Lovely. Make it interesting. Easy to teach grammar. Very nice. Very nice. Having fun. Yes, yes, yes. Having fun. So the bigger the word, that is the number of times people are writing it. So creativity is a staple in your answers, I reckon. Aesthetics, very nice, very nice. Communication, yes, it helps with it. Beautiful, beautiful. We have about 15, 16 people who are responding. Very nice. I couldn't have done a better job, honestly. Holistic development, 100%, 100%. So we are going to wait to hit maybe a quarter of a century, and then we will sort of stop this lovely exercise. So we have 25 people. So, okay, maybe another 10 seconds. Beautiful. Involvement. Yes, yes. Critical thinking. Easy to teach. 100%. Kinesthetic. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Very nice. All right. Let's wrap it up here. Thank you very much for your responses. Let's go back to our PPT. Thank you. So I'll be closing this in a bit. Yeah, that would suffice for now. Thank you very much. So let's go back to the PPT. Great. So here we go. Thank you so much for participating. That tells me that we are on the same page. So when we first begin with addressing why, I think we would all be talking about the same thing. So here we go. So why does the NEP mandate art integration in education? So as you mentioned, it would help the child visualize the concept or whatever you're trying to put across. It's something that goes beyond theory. You already know that. Thank you very much. It connects the child with the world outside. You know, there is lots that is happening beyond the text or connected to the text. Art is a beautiful way of showcasing it. And when I say art, I don't just mean drawing and painting. Yeah, we will explore all of that. It's a shift from rote methods. Yes, a lot of you actually wrote that from what we read. It's far beyond a lecture. Okay, it's such a beautiful way. So you would engage the child. It inculcates respect for culture and heritage. This is very, very important. It teaches the child to be more tolerant, and art sort of unifies, I feel. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Develops art-based inquiry, 100%. Art would, somebody had mentioned critical thinking. So yeah, art-based inquiry, you can use that piece of art. You could list out some questions. You would definitely get the child connected to the theme or the objective of the lesson that you're trying to put across. We will do an example of this later. Multidisciplinary link, somebody had mentioned transdisciplinary, 100%, where I might see a picture that is talking about rain or that is talking about a beautiful sunny day. A science teacher would have different aspects of science to talk about in the very same picture. So yes, a transdisciplinary link, a multidisciplinary link. And it helps you achieve objectives. I will be showcasing this as well. If the learning objectives are talking about you being able to get the child to speak or listen or write or be able to explore or think independently, etc. All that art would help you achieve all of that in a simpler, fun way. And as somebody mentioned, a lot of people actually wrote fun, having fun. So art makes learning joyful. I think these are ample reasons for experts to say, yes, hey, it's a good thing. Let's please, now we have art at the center and the subjects around. It's not like it was before that, oh, the subjects and only the subjects and art somewhere on the periphery. Now it's art at the core and the subjects around. Please remember that this is going to be extremely important for you to know, because we have moved towards competency-based education. You can't do away with art, right? So when we talk of English, before I get into the details, as I listed in the outline earlier, let's just do something simple so that we are all on the same page and that you understand how it would reflect in your classroom, right? So when we talk about English, our subject, we would say that it comprises of listening, it comprises of speaking, reading, and writing. So as lovingly called LSRW skills, right? So now I would reckon that if I'm teaching English, I'm sort of teaching or inculcating these skills in the classroom for the children. So can I incorporate or integrate art with these skills? That's my first induction into art integration for you, and then we'll go specific, right? So let's look at this. So let's look at listening. I'll showcase a couple of examples of each skill that should sort of set you at ease that yes, it is not all theory. It's very, very simple to apply it in the classroom, and there is a whole variety out there for you to use. Yeah. So now when we talk about listening, let's think of cartoons. Okay. So you have cartoons. If you look at this, each cartoon is of a different type. This is drawn differently. This is drawn colored differently. This is drawn differently. So all of these are basically from the Hindu. They are created by different cartoonists. So the worksheet would have these. You would perhaps as a pre-listening tell the children to pick out points of difference or a point of similarity between among all of them. So if they can pick out, if you look at it, look at the structure of the nose, there's hardly any, it's just a dot, and there is maybe a triangular kind. Look at the expressions, look at the colors used, okay? So all of that, the child is first observing. That's something very important with art. You're using it for a skill, but you first get to do something pre-listening because this is the skill we are doing. Then you have a question that says, you will listen to a boy talk about 3 different cartoons. Match the cartoon to the creator. There's an extra cartoonist given. So perhaps the boy would be saying, a cartoon that has simple lines with small dots at the face, etc., has been created by Samira Maruvada. So supposing the child says that, so the person is looking. So what will the child match? The child will say number 3 matches with B. Okay, so now that's listening. The child has already done a whole lot of observation, has discussed. So this is not going to be extremely troublesome for the child. They would already have an idea based on their observation. You're using art, you're developing a skill. You could always showcase the answers later. Yeah. So that's one example of doing art with listening, or art with English if you want. Another example of listening is going to be with music. So you have a whole lot of musical instruments. How would you use instrumental music? It's listening, isn't it? It's listening, isn't it? So how would you develop that kind of listening? Listening for appreciation. There are several kinds of listening, but that's another session altogether, yeah? So identifying musical instruments. Now, if you play instrumental music and, there are several instruments that are being used, we have a beautiful collection in our repertoire for Indian classical music or any kind of music. Okay, so can they identify the musical instrument? Are they listening for detail? Okay. The tone and mood of a poem. Now, for example, if you have a poem that talks about a lot of fun, or a poem that talks about nature, you could play three different kinds of music and tell them which is the music that you would associate with this poem. The very fact that they would associate drums or trumpets with a fun poem instead of the violin or the piano would be enough to tell you that they have understood the tone and the mood of the poem. Right? So that's another great way of doing listening with music. Of course, to make them learn the genres of music. Can they distinguish between the different styles of music? They simply don't have to mention what style it is, just so they know that, oh, this one is quite similar to the one that we heard at number 3. Just that. So that's great. You could do, there's a lot more. Okay, so I'm just showcasing a tidbit here. Let's move on to speaking. Let's look at vintage advertisements. Okay, so we are looking at vintage advertisements, and here we go. Look at this. This is for speaking. Imagine children in class 6, 7, and 8. We do talk about gender parity. It's a very, very big factor in our NEP as well. So train her to be an ideal housewife. Buy her an Usha sewing machine. Okay, just this. All right. Now, if this is the art that I'm using a vintage advertisement. So this is the art that I'm using. So what is it that I would like for them to talk about? It's speaking, isn't it? So I would probably say expressing an opinion. So you open it to students group, you show them this particular form of art, and then you give them some language. A lot of people would say this is personally speaking. It works either way. So expressing an opinion, you've given them a prompt. Now they have the idea, you've given them the vehicle, you're showing them a piece of art, and you are training them to express an opinion. And your learning objective is done, because that's what it says in your LOs for your classes. Okay, you have another one. So now you had this particular vintage advertisement. Now you simply have an advertisement of the same brand. Times have changed. So you have this now. Okay, so what would it be? What is the kind of speaking you'd get them to do? You'd say, all right, I'd like you to compare and contrast both. Could you use these words? Could you bring out the comparison and contrast? So the comparison could be the product. The comparison could be pitching it to the female of the species. However, the focus, etc., be creative, etc., instead of train yourself to be a housewife. Maybe they'd pick up on that. If they do, that's great. You're doing a whole amount of life skills along with speaking, and you're using art. All right. Look at this. This is Gond art. Another example for speaking. You would be doing speaking if you show something like this. What is the kind of speaking you could do? Either you could ask several questions based on this, or you could simply tell them to create a story. So a group of 5 or a group of 4, and they could sort of, come up with 2, 3 sentences at a time, and they could sort of weave a story around the picture that they see. All right. Okay. So that's art again for you. Let's look at reading now. Okay. Now, printed instructions. Reading is not just your textbooks. It's not the text covers. It's not the book covers. There's so many things like greeting cards and menus and etc., warnings and directions and so on. So I'm showcasing printed instructions, supposing, because that's art, right? So I want them to speak, to read something that is artistic. So perhaps a game or assembling a particular product, etc. So something like this, which they would read, you would ask them some questions. You would have something like this, the processes, okay, how to make your kite. Make it interesting for them, something that they can do. The very fact that they complete the task tells you that they've understood what they've read, okay? So that's art for you. Look at the way things are arranged, okay, artistically. Menu card. This is also art. So don't just think it's drawing and painting and craft and dance and drama and music. This is art as well. This is my way of telling you, please open the windows and just let yourself think broader. Okay? So if they read this and you ask them some questions, you're not only doing critical thinking, you're doing observation, you're using art, you're integrating art. That works beautifully, and your skill is reading. Let's proceed. Writing. So you're using a poster. You can get them to write a letter. You can sort of get them to answer questions that you're going to be asking. Don't just think that answering questions on something is just a reading passage. We have moved far beyond that. We have continuous as well as non-continuous stimulants for reading. So this would definitely help you. It could be a diary entry. It could be a dialogue between two people that you're getting them to write. Okay. Look at this diary entry over here. You're using an animation video. So description of Bean's experience. So write a diary as Bean. You could use this as a video or as a cartoon strip. So that works beautifully. You're integrating art. Now that we've finished with that, let's talk about who and what. Okay, so now you have art integration in education, which says that a part of it is art education. Another part of it is AIL. So you have AE and you have AIL. Okay. So now, if this is clear, any questions so far? Shri, if there are a couple of questions that somebody wants to ask, we can spend a minute answering that.
So I'm just looking for questions, ma'am. But there was one question that I see on Facebook, which is asked by Ms. Manjusha. She says, how can origami be, Ms. Manjusha asks if she can teach Marathi using this.
Oh, yes. You definitely, let me first applaud you on bringing up bilingual and multilingualism as far as our subject is concerned. If it can be done for one language, Manjusha, it can be done for any. Just follow the same pattern that we are following. You want to teach a local language or the language of the state, etc. Please ensure that you're following the same pattern. If you have posters in Marathi, if you have questions that you can get them to answer in Marathi, or literature that they can read. I'm talking about realia. So if there is some a menu that is written in Marathi, get them to do that. Of course you can. There is somebody in the room who's raised the hand. Could we, Gunjan, I think.
No, it is not Ms. Gunjan. It is it is Subhanish, Hemshri, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hemshri, ma'am, would you like to unmute yourself? If you'd like to, please show up your hand, because I think the hand was lowered. But there is another question from Ms. Bridget. She asks on Facebook, can lessons be taught using art?
Yes, 100%. I'll just come to that. This was my way of first doing the skills. When we say lessons, I'm assuming you're talking about the textbook lessons. So then that becomes a part of reading. However, when you want to approach a lesson and put some parts in the lesson plan, we will talk about it in the realm of art integrated learning, right? So we'll come to that, Bridget. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
So,
yes, ma'am. I think you can go ahead because there are a lot of questions, I think, which can be taken during the Q&A.
All right, great. So I'll be pausing once again after another 10, 15 minutes. So you could probably look up a couple of other questions for me, Shri, for that time. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Art education, art integrated learning. So you could repeat after me, AE and AIL. For us, what is really relevant as teachers of subject, as ESL or teachers of English would be art integrated learning. And I'll elaborate on that once I've clarified the difference. Okay, so we move to art education. What does it mean really? Art education, as the name suggests, is simply the art teacher educating the students. Art teachers. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean by that. This is art education. So for you as a subject teacher, all you have to do is request the art teachers to help you out while integrating art. I'll clarify that as well. So art education is under the co-scholastic banner. It's about the music teacher, it's about the drawing teacher, it's about the drama teacher. You would have the craft teacher, the dance teacher, even a teacher who's doing culinary skills for the children. Yeah. So you would have all of these. The NEP classifies all of these as art. Okay. And every little thing that comes out of it. Yeah. So even packaging of products is creative thinking. It's artistic. Carving vegetables, okay, or garnishing or laying out salad on a plate in an artistic manner, arranging flowers, all this is art. Okay, using some kind of makeup skills, that's art. Okay, so don't let anybody fool you. Designing, a block printing, all those things are all art. All right, how do you do up your room? That's art. How are you arranging books in a library? Book covers are art. Greeting cards are art. Okay, writing slogans is art. Everything around us is art. We just need to have the eye, which is why we connect our subjects to it, and then it happens magically. Okay. Product designing is art. All right. So now when we talk of art education, the Kala Setu asks for details of the art teacher, talks about the classes and the timings that they're taking. It's all about the art teacher. Art education, that is part one, as you see, is the art teachers. Okay, so that's art education. That only connects with you insofar as that you will have to reach out to them for help and assistance when you're planning your activities. Yeah. So now we've done art education. Now we come to art integrated learning. The first thing you need to know, it's not really AIL, but it's a bridge between both, but I like to call it AIL because it does contribute to the learning. That is art integrated activities. There'll be three things in art integrated learning. The first one is art integrated activities. This is something that all of you do day in, day out with the children. You do a whole lot of this. You finished a poem, you finished a particular chapter, and you would get them to do something artistic like coloring or paper folding or role plays and things like that. That is art integrated activities. It's a bridge between art education and AIL actually. Okay, so this is where the art teachers, the students, and the subject teachers come together. Now, if the art teacher is teaching origami in the class, or the art teacher is teaching voice modulation in the drama class, depends what art teachers your school has opted for. if what is it called, marbling or paper mache, if the art teacher is teaching that. Now, if you've taught a particular chapter that lends itself to tell the kids to use that particular art, then the children have it beautiful for them, because they'll be using the skill that they are learning in the art class, and they'll be using it to do a particular assignment for you once you've taught them a particular topic or a subject. So now that's art integrated activities. Simple. They are activities. That's all you need to remember. Activities that integrate art would be art integrated activities. We have a lot of examples. Let me just get done with the Kala Setu here. So this is going to be your part 3. Part 1 and 2 are for art education. Part 3 is art integrated activities. You have the ACAD 33, the circular for art integration that we had last time. Look at this. It had an annexure. It had all these topics listed for art integration activities. Something that you do to get the child to apply what the child has learned. These are activities, or for leisure, okay, connected to your subject. All right, let's have a look. What do these signify here? All right, here you are. Keep looking at this side. Keep looking at the left side. So I've just taken a few snips. There are several in the circular. Even designing the school magazine, wall magazine, bulletin boards, making posters for school functions, making brochures, greeting, invitation, etc. All of this is art integrated activities. Aren't these activities? Yes. Are they using art? Yes. Art integrated activities. No rocket science there. Okay? Here you go. Construction of puppets. Not just performing. Constructing it as well. It is not about the product, it's about the process. Okay? Organizing, displaying, participating in art exhibitions, participating in study visits, going to the museum, going to the botanical gardens, etc. Creation of a scrapbook, tabulating, identifying participation in quizzes, short notes on certain people who are involved in different artistic spheres in the country. Look at this, all this, speech, voice, acting, modulation, everything. It's all right here, okay? Let's have a look at an example. I was just going through the books by Collins. I came across one, art integrated activity. There's several, I just picked this one. Here's an example of an acrostic poem. So what's an acrostic poem? The first, the first letter of every sentence is the one that sort of dictates. So now if it's about an ice cream, ICECREAM, and then the child is supposed to do this. So the child studied an acrostic poem, perhaps, and then this is the activity given to the child. So the child has finished studying and learning, and then post that there is an art integrated activity. Now, if you look at another one, it's about drawing a logo. Okay, I thought that was brilliant, beautiful. Okay, look at this one from the NCERT class 6. The chapter was the banyan tree, and what could you do with this? So this is a picture that is there in the textbook. Now the child has finished the chapter, and what do you do? So you showcase this, and then you give them dialogue boxes, and then you could perhaps tell them that if you were to open the story, what is it that you would write? Or what is it that you would say? Or can you act out what you'd like to do? So all of that is art integration. It's happened. They've understood. They've read the chapter. They've finished the chapter. Now you're asking them to integrate their learning along with an art form. Okay. There's another one in NCERT class 8. It's called, this is Jodie's fawn. So it's about a baby deer, a fawn. Okay. So perhaps a video Okay, the beautiful stuff out there. Look at this. A documentary, that's art, isn't it? The Private Life of Deer. That's the name of the documentary. Okay, and the child could have a look, you could ask some questions, and you could take it from there. That's art integration. So you could give them a worksheet for them to fill up what their observations are. They'll have some fun, all right? You could use the Gond art. This is deer. You could ask them to color. You could show them a sample. You could limit the colors that they are going to use. Okay, it's quite therapeutic. All right. You could give them some dialogue boxes. You could make it autobiographical for them. If you were Jodie's fawn, what would you like to say? You know, so there's a whole amount of art integration happening. Now that we are done with art integrated activities, let's come to something that is causing a lot of confusion. That is AIL in the purest form, okay? AIL, art integrated learning. So this is something that is prescribed from classes 1 to 12. All right, which means that you pick up a certain chapter and you apply the integration of art with the learning process. So art integrated activities is something the teacher sets along with advice from the art teacher for the students connected to their subject. So that's a beautiful thing. You could do that. But when it comes to art integrated learning per se, it translates to the pedagogy in the classroom, which means how do you clarify your subject concepts, whether it's the lesson or whether it's a skill. Bridget, I think this is what you were talking about. Let me give you an example here. This is the main part. So the onus is on the teacher. The activity you set out for the students, but when you are actually doing AIL, as the name suggests, art integrated learning. So the teacher uses art to ensure that the learning is the best, okay, in the classroom, that you have sort of managed to achieve your learning objectives by using art. All right. Now I'll explain, please don't worry. So according to the circular, okay, we always go back to the CBSE circular. This is what it was, I'm sure. Look at this. This is point number 5. Art integrated learning, AIL, as a pedagogical tool. So it's a pedagogical tool. So if it's a pedagogical tool, it does not mean that you keep making the children create models or charts or PPTs, etc. Excuse me, that is art integrated activity. It is not AIL. A pedagogical tool is a tool used by the teacher. It's going to be used by you. So how are you going to go about it? Let me just give you an example by showing some salient features, and then we'll showcase the example. So you have to use art as a tool to teach the subjects. You, not students, you. Students are just going to be involved in the process, which means you'll have to plan very, very carefully, okay? The subject teacher makes use of simple art forms. It's a planned activity. Obviously, you can't just go to the class and say, hey, let's do this. You would have no clue how they're going to respond unless until you plan. You might need some resources along with you to take care of that, right? So you could use those pieces of art that you're wanting. Very simple stuff. It could be very simple. It could just be a simple greeting card. All right. What you do with it to connect it to the central idea of the chapter or the skill that you are taking care of. In this case, let us talk about the chapter. That is what is important. Okay, I'll showcase an example. So while teaching, not after you have finished teaching. Oh, today we have learned this. Now, children, could you please draw this? That's an activity. AIL happens while the learning is happening, okay? This These are the several kind of activities that are listed. So this is a CAD circular, again, an extra 2. It's all listed here, all. Now you might say, ma'am, I can't do paper quilling. How would I be doing paper quilling in English, etc.? Don't. They are not saying it's compulsory. You could do role play. You could do video making, film making, photography. You could talk about slideshow. You would be showcasing that piece of art. Once the learning happens, then you could use that as an activity for them to do. But you are using that art form, whether it's a video, whether it's a PPT, whether it's a song that you want to bring to fore, whether it's some kind of mask that you're wearing and going to class, you are using that art. That is art integrated learning. And you're using that to ask questions, to lead the students to connect with the lesson that you're going to do, so that when they are doing it, when they finally open the textbook, there is already a layer of understanding that you have done through art with them. So the learning has already started. And during that lesson, you get them to do or further the kind of art that you were doing earlier. I'll show you. Okay. So now the Kala Setu, this is the part 4. So all of what I just showed you over there in the circle, all of these are listed here. Don't feel bound. Okay. They say these are suggestions. There is another thing there that says other as well. So you could use that as well. Okay. Look at this. This teacher probably used PPTs. The teacher says, okay, I went and showed a PPT, an interesting 2-3 slides, not 30-40 slides having a copy paste of the lesson only, but 2-3 slides artistically. Okay. So digital art. Now, how do we go about it? So here we go. Now, this is a book that I really like. You have 2, one from NCERT, one from CBSE. This is the one from CBSE, okay, art integration. And it says very clearly, how is it that you will use art to teach a particular lesson? How is it that it will translate into AIL, L for learning, not an activity. So they say you could do it in 2 ways. You could do it via ice breaking. So during the introductory stage of a lesson, you know, you have beautiful warm-ups listed in the textbooks, etc. Sometimes they are not art oriented. So if you feel that 2 or 3 chapters in your course lend themselves to usage of art, you're not supposed to do it for every chapter or every poem. You could pick 3 or 4 and say, okay, I am going to use art for these particular units. All right. So you would have the ice breaking stage, the beginning stage, to sort of get them to activate their schema and connect to the central idea of the lesson. The second way is the project, and we have, say, maybe another 10-12 minutes, and I will handle this particular aspect for you. Okay. So now let's look at the NCERT class 8, the ant and the cricket. Everybody knows the story. The ant and the grasshopper, the ant and the cricket. So it's a particular poem. All right. So now what is it that you as a teacher would do when you go to class? What is the art form? I felt that this particular poem lends itself beautifully to usage of art. So I want to do AIL. I want them to get involved before they open and start reading. So I, as a teacher, have written in my lesson plan that I am going to use puppets. Look at it. So simple. Later on, I perhaps can tell them to make these also. Simple puppets. So I take these to class, and then I ask them. So first the qualities of the ant, then the cricket, what is the weather where you'd see this, how do they behave, everything. What is it that they would talk to each other? What would one say? Would they insult each other? Would they compliment each other? Would they request something, etc.? Any story that comes to your mind about both of them. So you've already started the process and you've used art, haven't you? Once they start reading the poem, you could use the puppets again, hand it over to a couple of people, get them to come in the front, and speak the dialogues of the poem using the puppet. So they are experiencing it as well. So that is what is called art integrated learning. So the learning is happening while the lesson is on, not after. And you're using art to make that fun. Okay, right? When after you've done the poem, when you tell them, okay, now you make some similar puppets, or you narrate a particular story making some puppets like this, you may not draw, you could cut from an old magazine, etc., or a newspaper and put it on an ice cream stick. Hey, that's great. They could do it in their art class, because their art class teacher is probably doing puppet making in craft, which is why you decided to do it. Simple. Okay, let's have a look at another one from class 7. It says the invention of Vita Wonk. Okay, so you have a person who creates this kind of a magic potion or a kind of a drink, and you know that's what the chapter is all about. So what would you do? You would probably refer to Harry Potter. You're referring to a particular movie. You would talk about the polyjuice potion. Okay, you would ask them, what do you reckon it contained? You would show something like this. So you're referring to a form of art. You could even show them that particular clip where they even take somebody's hair. They have several things. You could have a book where it says, oh, what are the things that are included? And then just for fun, because this whole chapter is all about creating potions and something that is going to make someone grow older and further elder and so on. I think if I'm getting it right, you could get them to bring some things. Bring a black mug if possible, or any colored mug. Okay, get a particular fruit, get a particular vegetable, get some ghee or honey, get some glitter, get any metal, and then tell them okay, and then tell them, if you were to put all of this together, what kind of a potion would you make? What would it do? Why would you use a metal that is aluminium or tin instead of iron? What does it do? So the whole discussion, you know, everything is going to be about creation. What could it do? Creative thinking, collaboration, communication. You're addressing everything, all competencies. And yet you are somehow connecting it to the unit. You're using art. All right. And then they can go on to study it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look at this. These are the set features of AIL. Oh, darling, carry the 8 extra red earrings inside. Very simply translates to observing, deducing, creating, thinking, exploring, experimenting, recreating, expressing, and imagining. If during your AIL experience, when you are using art, you can make the child do some of these, your work is done. That's all you need to remember. Okay? Yeah. Let's have a look at a kind of a lesson plan that talks about this. You have some very beautiful lesson plans in this very book. Again, it's page 53 onwards. Let me show you. Here you go. Let's make this a bit, yeah, see? Now this is class 6 and here it is. It's here. Integration of drama. Theater with teaching of, now this is class 6. Methodology. You could pick it all from here. Then you have class 7 and so on. It's all there. 6, 7, 8, you have all the examples. So please don't worry. You have the plans there. I'm not sure whether, should I think perhaps, do you want me to copy, paste perhaps? Should I don't know. Can I go to the chat box? Yeah, I guess I can. If I get back to the PPT. And Okay, we'll do that later. We'll do that later. Don't you worry. Okay, so here it is. Back again. All you have to do is type, making it simpler for you. All you have to do is type Art Integration Manual, CBSC, and you'll get the PDF. That's all. Art Integration Manual, CBSC, and you will get this manual. Page 53 onwards are your lesson plans for English. Okay, yeah. So we've done art integrated activities. We've also done AIL. What I'd really like to do right now is art integrated project. Something that causes a lot of confusion. We have 5 minutes, 5 to 6, and after that we'll open for questions. Okay, so now telling the child over the weekend that go and make a model using thermocol, etc., or copy, paste and stick some pictures, or create some PPTs, or could you please do this or that, where parents are sitting and doing, not even understanding what purpose does it serve, is definitely not an art integrated project. It's not even a project. It's just another activity that has burdened the child, right? So a project is long-standing, it's collaborative, and it is heavily planned by the teacher. Okay, it doesn't just contribute, or it doesn't just take into consideration one skill. It would help you move ahead in your syllabus. It is not an extra work that you're doing. You are using the technique of project, which is AIL, to go ahead with your subject. Okay, please remember that. All right. Let's help you understand. For classes 6 to 8, it should be transdisciplinary in nature. It's solo for classes 9 and 10. But for classes 1 to 8, it is transdisciplinary. That means it should include more than one subject. Students will take up integration with any form of Indian art, visual or performing. It is used to facilitate learning. Remember what I said, not as an activity, but it facilitates learning. And in minimum one project work, okay? In minimum one project work, you integrate any art form from the paired state. For example, you already have done this for the last academic session. It's the same thing for this year as well. It's the same state. Okay, if the last time English did it with some particular subject, tell the math people or tell the EVS people or tell the other language, second language people to do it. When you are combined with some language, some other subject, you may not do it this time. So if you're doing 2 projects, if you're doing only one, even then you could say that, please, can we not do it for English? Could you please do it for history, or could you please do it for geography, or maybe biology or something? Can we not do it for English? Could you please integrate art there for that particular subject? It's okay. If you're splitting your subjects, then in one project work minimum, you need to pair up with the state. The other subjects can simply use any art form. Okay, yeah. Points to consider: planning very, very carefully, focus, hands-on experience. It cannot be lecture there, okay? Resources should be readily available. Collaboration, you should have 4 or 5 students. It's not done with one student. Oh, sit at home, finish it, copy paste, show me. No, it's collaborative. How can you do it online? You can. Everybody does their work. They collaborate, collate, bring it together and present it together across the screen as well. Assessment, I will showcase some rubrics for you. It's very important. At each stage, you have the assessment, okay? You need to inform the students what are your criteria for the assessment. You can't just blindly grade them. They need to know what are you grading them on before the project begins, so that they work towards accomplishing that, all right? Have a look at this particular thing. Part 5 is project on the Kala Setu. So what are they saying? What are they saying really? They're saying that you choose Collaboration, you could have 3, 4 subjects, 2 subjects, etc., whatever it is. Project beginning date, project end date. So is it less than 1 month? It doesn't say 2 days. Is it less than 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months? I could complete half my syllabus, including my chapters, by just project-based learning. And children would have such fun. They wouldn't even know they're doing their syllabus. Okay, but that's a different session altogether. Right now, just telling you the basics. Okay, I'll show you an example. All right. So let's have a look at an art integrated project, and then we are open for questions after a quick assessment rubric. Okay. Now, supposing I want to take a video. All right. So now I am doing a combination of, I think, Madhya Pradesh and Nagaland and Mizoram. These are the paired states. So let's take Nagaland, supposing I'm from MP. I would say that, okay, children, this is a video. That's the art form about Nagaland food, akhuni. Okay, that's how it's spelled. So Chef Kunal Kapoor visited there and was exploring the process of creating akhuni. All right, and this is the video. The children are supposed to view it. Now that's a project. Now I layer it for you. So step 1, what do you tell the kids? View and list the sequence of actions that you observe, ensuring that they are engaging with the video. State your favorite part of the video. So they'll discuss, the group of students that, you have several groups, and they'll give you a reason for their choice. So first step, you have ensured that they've engaged with your art. Okay. And what kind of art are you using? You're using culinary art. You're also using a documentary, but a YouTube video, but we are not going there. What is the paired state influence that you're using? You're using food of Nagaland. Okay. That's the art that you're going with. All right. So that's your step 1. Okay. Then you listen to them, you show them a particular, you assess them for step 1. Okay. How would you assess them? I'll show you some samples. Step 2, now writing. Okay. View the video, and you could do any 2. So always give the students a choice in a project. Don't make it compulsory for them. It gets troublesome. So what is it that you have in your syllabus? Use those writing things. Write the description. What does the chef feel? As the chef, write a description of akhuni. As the chef, make a diary entry of your experience at Dimapur. Write an informal letter as the lady in the video describing the experience of the chef's visit. Write an article on akhuni. All right. As a reporter of the Naga Times, write a report for your newspaper about chef's visit. You choose. This is just my way of showing it. You could bring it down to the kind of things you're doing in your syllabus. So they're already going to be engaging with that. That's step 2. Look at step 3, reading. Okay. Read the recipe of akhuni and research the dishes in Madhya Pradesh. That means your own area that could be remade using the same ingredients. So it's soya bean really. Okay. And add at least 1 more ingredient or product used to, or the procedure used to make akhuni. What is that 1 more procedure that you could add to it? Okay. Research information on the chef. So you're making them read. You don't have to make them do the Nagaland art at every step of the project. Enough. You are keeping it for the food. I have seen projects in which children are just drawing and painting, or just, the whole project is about that art. The project should not be about that art. It's art integrated project. The project is about your subject. You are just integrating art. Whoosh. Okay. So that's something you need to remember. Step number 3 over here, reading. Read Chef Kunal's Insta post about akhuni and solve the MCQs that follow. So you're making them read as well. You're training them for reading skills as well. Okay. Now the second last step, listening. Read the statements that paraphrase the experience of tourists who ate akhuni. So akhuni is there from the beginning to the end. So you've integrated. By the time the project is done, the child would have mastered some skills and the child would know anything and everything there is to know about a kuni as a special dish of Nagaland. So you've integrated art from the paired state. Okay, so this is listening, very simple, all right? And you conclude with a presentation. So you give something that is more contemporary. You would ask them to create a blog, that's a video diary, okay? And here it is. Talk about a local dish of your region. When did you have it? Where? What was your reaction to it? How is it made? Accompaniments, any changes? What steps would you do to make it popular? They would love doing it. Okay, now that is a project. If there are 5 steps, it would go across 5 weeks. Choose one day of the week and call it a project day. Have the discussion, have the assessment, have the presentations as you wish. Okay, yeah, now that's project. Okay, let's look at the assessment. You have things like this. At every stage, you decide what you want to assess. Oh, it's speaking. I want to check their creativity and their fluency, etc. Oh, it's group work. This is what I want to check. So you have different indicators for it. Okay, and then you have these. We could do rubric creation, but that's a different session. We'll do it soon, I'm sure. These are the things that you could put as indicators. Depends what you want to assess. It's formative in nature. So you could choose. Simple. You could have checklists, peer check, self-checklists. You could have so many things. All right. Just remember, these are the do's, you can read it. Just remember, do not comment on the artistic quality. That's not important. The process is important. You leave the artistic quality to the expert, that is the art teacher. They will take care of it. And if you feel it's important for your project, then call the art teacher along with you to assess it. Okay? You are assessing English. You've made it fun using the art as advised by the art teacher. Okay? Don't compare artwork, please. Oh, look at her, so much better. That group, oh, so great. Why? Why? It's not required. Everybody is doing the best they can. Yeah? Okay. Those are my sources and we are open for questions. All right. So let me stop sharing here. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go.
Thank you so much, ma'am. First, let me begin with questions from Ipshita ma'am, who asks, art integrated activities will have to be listed in the lesson planner, and that's a question. And a follow-up is, can due weightage of marks or credits be given to motivate students?
Art integrated activities, is that what is asked? Art integrated activities to be included in the assignments or for marks, etc. Oh, art integrated activities to be graded, yeah, why not? You have something called, based on what I see in 9th and 10th, you have something called subject enrichment. You have internal assessment. One part of it is the portfolio. So art integrated activities, if you want to grade, you could do it formative in nature. It should be formative in nature. It should not be high stakes for the child. The child should not feel pressure. Oh my God, the color has gone out of the boundary. Now I am not going to get the marks. Right? So it should be about the process. So when they are doing an activity, what will you check? The creative insight. What will you check? Collaboration. What will you check? Creative effort, not the product. In that sense, yes, please grade the child.
Yeah, the next question is from Ms. Priya Nair. She asks, if you show the clip of Anne Frank's diary and then tease the chapter based on the same, and ask them to do a study, a comparative study, will it be art integrated activity or art integrated learning?
That would be art integrated learning because you have showcased a piece of art before you've gone into the lesson. However, let me caution you about the kind of clip you use because it can be very, very disturbing. I'm assuming you're talking about class 9 or 10 over here. And if you're doing that, you need to remember there are several other ways to, because the portion that that is used in the textbook is not something that is troublesome. It's a fun thing. It's a teacher-student thing. So if you're going to talk about the lesson and the objectives you need to achieve, then there'll be other ways for you to use AIL. But to answer your question, using something to get the child thinking or associate before you've actually got the child to open the text is definitely AIL, not art integrated activities.
Yeah. So the next question is, ma'am, if you could suggest certain activities for a grammar class, an art integrated activity for the grammar class.
Yeah, sure. I mean, pick any form of art. Pick, I think we did it last time also, use videos, take Mr. Bean, take Shin Chan, take any cartoon, take Chota Beam. I don't know what the kids like out there. Whatever it is, play it for them, pause. Ask a particular question in a particular tense. The child will answer. They will answer naturally because they'll be so involved in what they're saying. Show short animated award-winning films. They love that. They love it. Especially the films that don't have any dialogues, you know, and you pause and you ask a question. Then you pause again, you ask a question. It goes on and all your tenses can be done. Show pictures, tenses can be done. All these pictures. Remember I showed you a couple for Gond art. You could use different kinds of art of different regions. You have Varli, you could use the indigenous toys. You could even get a dupatta or a sari and you could showcase. So the more you speak and question, remember what I showed you, oh darling, etc., etc. That's going to be great. You could do any part of grammar using art provided you lead with it. Now, if you begin in the beginning with this, it becomes art integrated learning. And then the child gets involved and then you tell the child, now you use this art form and you explain or you question the other students. So when the child is able to do the same thing using that, child is having fun. Child doesn't realize it's grammar. You don't have to tell the child. So it's communicative. The rules will come later when you put the sentences created by the child on the board and say, is there a similarity that you notice? The child will discover the rules, okay? You're just going to get them to have fun. So you will do it yourself. They will follow you. They will do it for you. That's experiential. And then the rules happen. Grammar.
Yes. And the next question is from Zoom. Swagatika ma'am asks, okay, she compliments you for a wonderful session. And then she asks you, ma'am, can we take role play as a formative assessment?
100% raised to the power infinity. That's our lifeline. As teachers of English, role play is our lifeline. You could do it as an art integrated activity also. You could do it as art integrated learning also. You could include it in your art integrated project also. It's fabulous.
Okay. And Smita ma'am asks you if you could explain the concept of oh darling and so on. Yes, once more.
Oh, okay. Let me run that slide again then perhaps. Maybe we'll do it towards the end when you're done with all the questions. So I'll take 30 seconds and showcase that slide for you, my dear. Yeah.
So Sakshi ma'am asks, how different is experiential learning and art integration? Experiential learning versus art integration.
Okay, so you could do experiential learning even with sports. So experiential learning is a kind of a theoretical concept, okay, and you use the different pedagogical. It's a tool really. Okay, so you need to achieve that. You need to achieve experiential learning. So you're going to use the resources that you have at your behest to make it happen. They're not the same. So you will use art, and through the means of art, you will achieve experiential learning. Okay, it's like saying that I am going to use a story to get the child to understand this holistically, okay, or to achieve the cognitive development. So these things are things that you need to achieve, all right? And what is the process of achieving it? So you have these tools like art, etc., to get them to achieve it. Yeah. It's a very integral part of art integrated learning, because as a teacher, when you're using art, you are going to involve the kids in that art, which is when they will experience it and reflect on it and then present it in the form of their understanding of the unit. So the whole code cycle. Yeah.
Yes. And there are a lot of teachers who are asking for a recording of this session. The recording, obviously, as we keep informing our viewers, our participants, is that it'll be available on Facebook on this particular page. And also in a few days, it'll also be uploaded on a YouTube page. So please follow us on our YouTube at Collins Learning India, and you'll find the webinars. So there is one compliment from Ms. Neetu. She says, I'm evolving as a teacher through your sessions. Thanks a lot, Ruchi ma'am.
I'm evolving as a trainer because of all of you. So thank you very much. Are we done? Because I need to showcase that slide.
Yes.
Yes.
So yes, ma'am. I think we are done, and you can showcase the slide.
Yes. So let's see. Let me go to screen share, and here we go.
So while ma'am shares a screen to all the participants, we have shared the feedback links both on Zoom as well as on Facebook. So in case you haven't received such links, please do ask any of the Collins team members, and we'll be happy to share the link. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm wondering where, here it is. Okay, here it is. There we go. So you have this. This means that these are the things you need to remember to include in AIL. So whenever you're doing AIL at the beginning of your lesson or through your projects, ensure that these are the concepts that you are targeting. Not all of them. You can't do all of them all at the same time, but if you can do observing, if you can check whether they are thinking or deducing, are you using something that will make them experiment? Are they creating something in the process? Are they recreating something? So you've shown something, are they sort of, recreating it? Can they express? Are they imagining, through some visualization? So these are the concepts that are there. I hope this has been clear. Yeah, so I'm going to shut it off now. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. There is Sakshi ma'am who says, I did your AIL suggestion for the chapter Deep Water and received lovely responses from the students. Thank you so much. I think that is practice in, in the actual field. So thank you so much for a wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you so much for being with us. And wish you all a safe evening and a safe time ahead. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.